Have you ever seen one person single-handedly start a war? A random fan got into a debate with a celebrity, and now the internet is collectively melting down trying to figure out which one of them is in the right. It's now turned into a whole thing that's raising a bunch of questions about mental health and parasocial relationships, but I think the biggest question of all is, who do you think is right? Hi, I'm a random person on the internet. You're a random person on the internet, and together we're here to talk about SZA. SZA is a massively successful R&B artist. Her latest album, SOS, is doing super well, and it was one of the biggest releases of the year. SZA has a ton of fans all across the internet, but when one of those fans posted something that SZA wasn't very happy about, it resulted in a whole circus with leaked DMs, hot takes. I mean, the TikTok that the fan made about it has over 40 million views, and that's just across 2 re-uploads on Twitter. I think part of the reason people are weighing in is because the situation is not really as cut and dry as it might seem. And I think people are intrigued because it kind of challenges the line, you know, this mysterious line that celebrities must not cross to dare interact with us mere mortals. So we're gonna go over the whole thing from what was posted, how SZA reacted, how everybody had a meltdown over it, and I'll give my own opinions about this, and I'll gladly hear your opinions about it too. I want to make it clear up front. There are so many different ways of interpreting this, and I'm not here to say that any of them are right or wrong. Well, I mean, except my interpretation is objectively right, of course, because it's my channel. I've been super happy with the response to my last video, which is doing super well. And believe it or not, even though I just dropped a 1-hour deep dive, I actually have another deep dive coming up pretty shortly. I've also been putting up a bunch of videos over on my side channel. Those are casual commentary videos, so it's a lot less editing, a lot more laid back. So all this to say, what I really needed today more than anything was to just post a bit of a lighthearted video. Sometimes it's nice when there's nothing objectively horrible happening. But trust me, there's plenty of whack stuff going on. But anyway, before we dive into all of that, let's take a quick look at today's sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Grammarly. Pop quiz. Which job do you think I spend the most time doing as a YouTuber? Research, video editing, looking good in every single outfit? Well, it turns out the answer is actually writing. With my last video clocking in upwards of over 15,000 words, it's safe to say that writing is a huge part of my work. Maintaining high quality is important to me, so that's why I love Grammarly and its advanced AI features, which are only a click away. Grammarly helps you ideate. Sometimes getting started can be the hardest part, but Grammarly is here to help you come up with ideas to kickstart your writing faster than ever. Grammarly helps you reply. From summarizing emails to suggesting replies, emptying your inbox has never been easier. Grammarly helps you revise. The most important thing is clarity, and Grammarly can help you paraphrase, streamline, and revitalize your work instantly. These are just a few of the ways Grammarly can help you improve your writing from start to finish. And you know what the best part is? You can try Grammarly for free today. Sign up and download Grammarly for free at grammarly.com/wallace09. To access extra features, you can get 20% off Grammarly Premium. Again, that's grammarly.com/wallace09. Now, without further ado, let's get into the video. So usually with the videos I post on this channel, I have to give a lot of backstory, but this time I'm delighted to say there's actually only one thing you need to know that happened before this event took place. A few years ago, a video started making the rounds in which someone at a SZA concert was posting SZA whack on their Instagram story, literally as she was performing right below them on stage. I think the video is kind of iconic, if nothing else, for its juxtaposition. Did this person not know what SZA was like live before attending? Are they just lying? Like, no matter how you look at it, I think it's a really funny clip, sort of the duality of humans, if you will. So this meme and its constant circulation in SZA's community would explain why this one fan decided to recreate it. In this now deleted TikTok she posted where she said, "How I live knowing that one of the biggest music artists of the decade personally hate DM'd me for an hour straight," she starts off by explaining that her intentions were pretty straightforward.
So obviously I recreated it and I posted it on the gram, whatever.
And honestly, I would say we're off to a very neutral start. Yeah, you are saying that SZA's whack, but first of all, that's just an opinion. And also, it's very clearly a joke, to me at least.
So I posted it to my 250 Instagram followers, and then SZA commented this. She said, "Y'all not human and it's sad."
Now, you're gonna notice this a lot throughout this TikTok, that this girl will highlight just like one portion of a message and sort of leave out, I guess, really important information. So SZA's comment says, Yes, y'all are not human and it's sad, which sounds very harsh. But in actuality, let's just do a bit of a Sesame Street here and read it together. I don't think you realize how messed up that actually is and how hurtful it was back then and how it ruins my confidence and desire to perform live. Y'all are not human and it's sad. Really wish you the best. Love, heart emoji. Now, out of context, y'all are not human sounds like some sort of horrible, I guess, condemnation. But it's pretty clear to me she's literally just saying, y'all don't have any empathy. Can you be human and see how this could be hurtful to me, I guess? At least that was my interpretation of it. But anyway, the girl in the video deletes SZA's comment. Totally, just off the post.
I deleted it because I was embarrassed. And she also DM'd me and said, not okay, space period. So I was like, oh my god, why is SZA in my DM? So I just said, sorry, it was just a joke. I didn't think she'd come back to it or anything. I was like, what? But she came back to it, obviously. You can read it here.
Yes, let's read it. So here we have SZA being pretty open and honest. She does thank her for coming to the tour, but she's questioning her decision to leave the post up, as well as her decision to delete SZA's comment, explaining how the post sort of made her feel. And she says, before I block you, I just want to remind you, I'm a person. Like, I have feelings and a life and anxiety like anyone else. It's hard to really have courage to get up on stage and even want to do my job. My feelings matter. I don't bother anyone, and being the butt of a joke just because you're popular doesn't make it better or okay. Peace. And you know what? Even though things are already getting a little bit charged, I would still describe this as neutral. Even if you don't understand where someone's feelings are coming from, everyone does have a right to explain how things make them feel. And also, I personally feel like I totally understand where she would be coming from in this scenario. Like, to make one thing clear, I've never performed live anywhere ever, but obviously when you're up there on stage, you would want to really believe that you're making people's days better and that they're enjoying it and that they love it. So I guess that real insecurity that's being preyed on of like, oh snap, everyone in this audience might actually totally hate what I'm doing and they're just here to make fun of me. I can only speak for myself, but that would be horrible to go through every night and to just never be allowed to say it, I guess, because I'm a celebrity. But I also really want to point out that SZA's feelings don't really make it wrong that this girl recreated this meme in the first place. Because if you didn't have that extra context, I really do believe it's totally harmless. But you can see that she says, girl, please. I'm literally just an 18-year-old girl recreating a meme that was posted like 3 years ago. Crying emoji. And for me personally, this is where I think it ceases to be neutral and it starts to be really lame. SZA was really just like, yo, this kind of hurts my feelings and triggers my anxiety. And like, you deleted my comment where I explained that, and you also left the post up. So that's leading me to feel like you're not being empathetic. And this girl's response is like, it was just a joke. And also, I'm only 18 years old. Like, it's sort of giving invalidation, I'm not gonna lie. And I do question what the deflection to age has to do with anything in this scenario. Like, 18 is a pretty young age, that's for sure, but what does that really have to do with anything here? You are certainly still responsible for yourself. And if this was just an offhand comment, I wouldn't think much of it. But you're gonna see this sort of keeps coming back up.
And while I was like reeling, this random account sent me this DM that's with zero women's. And the account is like full of photos with SZA. This is SZA's friend. SZA's friend came after me.
So here the fan is sort of implying that SZA sent one of her friends after her, which there's not really proof of that. SZA denies that this happened, and what is a lot more likely in my opinion is just that this person saw SZA's comment and therefore decided to try to go to bat for her. These DMs are private, but obviously SZA's initial comment before it was deleted was very public, and it was up for over 10 hours as you saw in the screenshot. Now, as for this fan's response, I'm not gonna lie, this is getting really weird.
You're 15 years older than me. Why are you coming after me for a meme? I didn't mean it. Obviously, I don't think you're whack, you know. I spent all this money on your show. Like, why are you coming after me, a genuine fan, instead of your real haters?
You're 15 years older than me, and it's a recurring meme in the fan base, and no one genuinely means it. You're a multiple-time Grammy nominee, and you've so many awards. Like, obviously, you aren't whack. It's situational irony I thought was funny. She goes on to say, I clearly enjoyed your concert, so I don't know why you're coming after me, as if you don't have 15 million followers on Insta and the top album of the century century. Please just focus on yourself and improving better relationships with your fans and going after your real haters who genuinely don't support you, because that's not me or my intentions. And to me, this is really coming across as reasons why SZA should not care, or I guess is not entitled to her feelings. And SZA says this much: I don't know what makes you think that because I'm famous or older than you, I'm not allowed to have feelings. I haven't sicked anyone on you. You chose to make this meme. I didn't even post about it. Yikes. And from these comments, it doesn't even sound like SZA was aware of the one guy who was in this girl's DMs. But yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I've crossed fully over into this is not cool at all territory. And the way this girl is so passive aggressive, like, why don't you just focus on yourself and your actual haters instead of fans who support you like me when you're so like old basically and successful? Like, why do you even care about this? I could see if SZA was just like, yo, I don't think this is funny personally. I think that might be an appropriate response to be like, yo, why do you care if this is funny or not? I'm just a fan of yours. But again, the fact that SZA multiple times was really clear about the anxiety aspect just makes this such a weird and smarmy response.
And, you know, she said that, classic. Then she DM'd me like 10 times in a row and said all this. I didn't curse at you, call you names, you lacked empathy, humanity, all this. I'm like, okay, girl.
Anyway, the she DM'd me 10 times in a row is really funny because this girl literally just sent SZA a message so long it took up like the entire screen. But again, these messages really just seem to be a continuation of what SZA was saying before. I'm actually talking to you like a real person. I wish you could do the same. It's called empathy, humanity, and honest communication. I didn't curse at you, call you names, or send anyone your way, or say anything about it publicly. I literally just said, hey, this isn't cool, and this original meme was a huge part of my state of anxiety that I had for years. This hurts my feelings. And instead of saying, oh man, I get that and I'm sorry, you deleted my comment and laughed. Even in her reaction to it now, this fan is just so dismissive, like, okay girl. Dude, this is like, what was the intention when you posted this? Was this because you really thought that this was awesome and cool and you just seem like you're really just sticking it to the man? I also want to point out this girl doesn't actually have to delete anything just because it hurts SZA's feelings, to be clear. I mean, personally, if you are hurting someone's feelings for absolutely no reason and contributing to their anxiety just because you're doing something that you thought was funny, I think I would probably delete it. I don't know. But I just don't feel like it's wrong to question why it wasn't deleted, or why this person was shrugging it off, or why this person deleted her comment about it. The girl then tells SZA she was rude. No, you were rude about it and never worded it in that nature. And you should have simply said, hey, thanks for coming, but the last slide really upsets me. If you want positive constructive criticism, you have to give positive constructive criticism. And I'm like, bruh, y'all would never catch me, let alone saying this to someone, but then posting about it publicly as if I'm proud. Tone policing is really just gross and annoying. And in my experience, tone policing people who are explaining problems that they're having with any sort of mental states like anxiety or depression, it's just so counterproductive. And to be clear, I'm not saying that just because you have some sort of mental things that you're working through, you have absolutely no responsibility for how you talk to people, because that's not true. But in this case, putting words in SZA's mouth and saying what she should have said instead of being rude is just, where is this coming from is what I want to know.
What are you gonna do? Call the media and be like, oh my god, this Maya said that I was whack. Like, what are you gonna do? There's just so much power imbalance. I just don't get it. My mistake. Like, I thanked you for coming. She's so back and forth in this, and the punctuation.
Alright, I am officially not a fan. Making fun of SZA's grammar at this point and trying to drag her for internet points for not perfectly expressing the way she had anxiety to you. This is, I don't want to use a word that's too strong and it sort of undermines my point, but it's kind of like bullying vibes, you know what I mean? Especially when you consider the fact that this girl totally just leaked these DMs without SZA's permission. Also, calling it a power imbalance is sending me. Y'all really went to therapy one time and you're like, I'm gonna use every single word I heard in this session in every single scenario for the rest of my life. I really wish people would stop overusing words like gaslighting and power imbalance. Those are just the ones I think of off the top of my head. Like, where is the power imbalance here? SZA has not used her platform to disadvantage you in any way. She is She is literally talking. At this point, is it a power imbalance to even be in the same room as somebody who is not as popular as you? Why have we already gotten, you're too old for your feelings to be valid? This is a power imbalance and you're in the wrong for bringing this to my attention. I'm gonna make fun of your grammar and the way you punctuate things because I don't agree with you. I swear this TikTok is like a everything wrong with kind of video, and she really posted this thinking she was in the right.
She said she's been really respectful and it didn't have to be this deep. It really didn't. But she was the one who kept like bringing it up. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. She was the one who wouldn't just leave it alone.
One thing you definitely could argue is that SZA could have sort of just dropped this. She certainly could have chosen not to respond. But can I ask you this though? If you can't succinctly explain why something is affecting your mental health, does that forfeit your right to bring it up at all? Because I really don't think so. Now I'm just gonna speak from my personal experience. I have been pretty frank in the past about how I have suffered from anxiety, and honestly, I continue to do so. Like, that is just part of my brain makeup, for better or for worse, and I've put a lot of work into learning how to work around that instead of, you know, feeling really limited by it all the time. But when I tell you my biggest compulsion as someone who suffers from anxiety is to over-explain things, y'all would not believe. I feel like I am constantly just fighting in my own head, first of all, to justify the reason why I have anxiety and the fact that I'm allowed to feel this way. I used to constantly try to justify to other people, like, I'm not sure if I'm explaining this in a way that makes sense. Really just trying to let them know that this was like the anxiety and not me. And to this day, when things get bad, I really do find myself just sort of doing what SZA is doing. I just ramble. And usually the people I'm talking to aren't being dismissive and annoying and making fun of my grammar and laughing at me and saying I'm too old to be, you know, entitled to my opinions. And even at that, I still feel the need to really just make sure they believe me, because sometimes I don't believe myself. So I could only imagine how it feels to be in this scenario where you are basically being invalidated. Yeah, it's gonna result in a bunch of messages. You are probably gonna want to go back and forth with this person to make sure that you're explaining yourself properly. And the sad thing is, if anxiety is not something this other person struggled with, you're never even going to be able to explain it in a way that they would fully understand. And I feel like that is clearly what's happened here.
It's not even a hate comment. It's just, I'm just like, girl, you need to take a chill pill. You can have your feelings and everything, but when you're famous on such a wide scale, there's bound to be things like that. You can't control every single negative thing someone says about you. And I didn't even say anything negative. I was recreating a meme.
It's so funny. I picked this topic because I specifically wanted something lighthearted. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of malding over here. Take a chill pill is probably the last thing you would want to say to somebody who's expressing any sort of struggle with anxiety, but you know, it's a vibe. Now, I don't want to make a sweeping indictment of Gen Z as a whole, especially since I am literally Gen Z despite being one of the oldest living members, but I feel like people who have spent their entire lives online sometimes can be predisposed to a tendency to not realize that the things that happen are real. So like, let me do a better job explaining that. If everything that you are used to consuming can just be closed in a tab or refreshed or just otherwise made to go away instantly, I really do think it leads some people to believe that like other people's feelings and just their lived experiences aren't actually real. I feel like that's the attitude you see when people record people without their permission, or they perform these stupid YouTuber pranks. And so I feel like from the very beginning, SZA's argument was like, yo, y'all, I'm a real person and this is how I really feel. But this was pretty much a losing battle because on a fundamental level, I literally feel like this girl doesn't perceive this situation as real from the way she's talking about it. Why is it funny that someone is upset? Look, you didn't have to delete the post. I have anxiety, but listen, I can't control people either, so I don't go around trying to make people delete things that could trigger me. But that absolutely does not invalidate my right to speak up if I feel a certain way, and that didn't invalidate SZA's right to share her feelings. To react this way by leaking her DMs and making fun of her, and really just taking something that was so vulnerable and said to you in privacy and trying to use it to make her seem bad is disgusting. You started this video off by saying that she hate DM'd you for an hour. Where was the hate? truly, where were the hate DMs? On your end, but you're clearly not ready to have that conversation.
I'm obviously a fan and it's obviously a joke. Why was she coming after me so hard? She was like, you wanted me to see that. You have 17 million Instagram followers. I tagged you. I didn't think you were gonna see it because like 1 million people tagged you.
And this whole I didn't ever think you were gonna see it thing is so stupid, because why did you tag her? Like, really deep down, why did you tag her? SZA, like many artists and otherwise famous people, she interacts with people online. She'll comment clearly on fan content, and this is something you would obviously know being in her fan base. So there's really no way you could have posted this without knowing there was a non-zero chance SZA would see this. Like, in many ways, I almost want to say you absolutely did want her to see this, even if you just thought she was gonna find it funny. I don't believe this person had negative intentions from the get-go, but right now, all they have is just negative energy. Anyway, they end it with this.
What do you think, girl?
And I have to say, the quiet thumbs down kind of sent me, because it could go either way. It could be like, yeah, SZA sucks. Yeah, I don't think you handled this the right way. Yeah, I don't care about this at all. Yeah, this coffee I was drinking was kind of lame. I think I'm just going to start using the ambiguous thumbs down in my day-to-day life. It feels very, very versatile, very multi-purpose. Anyway, in the spirit of asking people what they think, I figured we could turn to some online opinions other than this girl's friend and see what they have to say. So like I said, this was popping off on Twitter, and there were a lot of responses. This person said, a lot of y'all act like this. Once you view someone as famous, they become an object without feelings. I would have done the same thing as SZA. I want to say I like this tweet because it's bringing up a really good point. I don't think that the girl in the video is some sort of like uniquely bad person. I think she is literally just emulating behavior that is really, really widespread, because people really don't envision the people they follow as real people. Now, as for their assertion that they would have done the same thing as SZA, I personally would not. I don't really DM fans about anything, mostly because I feel like for me, the comments are enough. If you're particularly vigilant in the comment section, you may even find me responding to one or two here and there. And obviously not everything posted about me on the internet is going to be positive or in agreement with everything I say, but I don't really feel the need to devote space on my platform to like reacting to that. And I don't feel the need to use my personal time, I guess, to really get into it with the people who are saying these things. So I wouldn't really agree that I would have done the same thing as SZA, but I can see why SZA did, and I can see why this person would as well. Ooh, I love this one. I hate that people learn the term power imbalance to absolve themselves of any responsibility. Her excuse that everyone does it and I paid money to see you so I can tag you and lame stuff is sad. But when you remember that SZA would get this energy 1,000 times every day, enraging. And this person responds saying, yeah, it was a bit of entitlement. I'm a fan and I pay money to see you, so I can make jokes at your expense regardless of how you feel about them. Those parasocial relationships people form are really sick. And again, I'm glad this was brought up because power imbalances are real. Okay, I'm not here to pretend like there are not scenarios in which this would be a valid argument. In fact, there are, by default, huge imbalances of power between celebrities and fans. But SZA was in no way using her celebrity to her advantage in this conversation. In fact, she was very much trying to disconnect herself from it in that moment and really emphasize the fact that, at the end of the day, she's still just a person. And the follow-up tweet is funny too, because it really does raise the question of, you really think that you're free from criticism just because you paid money to see her? SZA doesn't really owe you anything, I guess, in that respect. I mean, I guess what she owes you is to perform, since that's what you paid to see, and that is what happened. So anything beyond that, I think, is a little silly. Now, I didn't want to only read supportive things. This one says, the people under this post supporting a celebrity having a manic breakdown in someone's DMs over a meme is even wilder than the story itself. And I really don't like this tweet for a lot of reasons. Like, this literally has thousands of people liking it, but frankly, there was nothing manic about SZA's responses. Nothing she was saying was inconsistent or nonsensical. And I think to categorize it as a breakdown is just, it's like a really convenient way to try to dismiss somebody who's bringing up valid concerns about their mental health. And to say that this happened over the meme is obviously not the case, because SZA's beef very quickly became the fact that this person was laughing at her for reacting this way and deleting her comment and refusing to do anything about the post. But I mean, there were people agreeing with this, so what can you do? This person said she didn't think SZA was gonna see it, but she tagged her in the post. Y'all can't come for these celebrities, and then when they come for you back, want to act like they're bullying you. Take the heat and shut up. I like this one because, once again, I can think of precisely 0 reasons to tag someone if you don't in the back of your mind think there's a chance they could see it. And also, SZA didn't even really come for this girl at all. All of the invalidation of like, oh, you're old, your grammar's dumb, blah, 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 was coming from this girl's side. SZA was really just saying, this is me, this is how I feel. Why are you reacting this way? SZA needs a backbone, I'm sorry. I personally feel like the lack of backbone was demonstrated by the fact that you were so mad that SZA responded to you in a way you didn't like. You're gonna expose the DMs for everyone to see. That's more boneless behavior than what I'm seeing on SZA's end, which is just explaining your feelings. Also, part of the reason I'm even making this video is because this girl deleted her entire internet presence. I usually don't talk about things involving just random people because I wouldn't want to contribute to people going to that person's page. But from what I saw, this person's page doesn't even exist anymore. Again, boneless behavior. Anyway, the last tweet I'm going to respond to says, I think SZA was being extra about it, honestly. She's allowed to feel whatever way, but all she said was SZA whack. I'm sure there's been way worse said about her that she isn't able to respond to. And what I would say is, I actually don't disagree with almost anything in this. SZA definitely was spending a lot of energy on something that I guess she wasn't really gaining anything in the long run because this person wasn't being reasonable. If you want to categorize that as being extra, I could see where you're coming from. And like this person said, she is allowed to feel hurt. But at the end of the day, I would argue that she's allowed to be extra as well, because that really does just come with being a person. Sometimes your opinions about things are stronger than they warrant, and that is just really how it is. It be like that. And in this case, I wouldn't even say that SZA's opinion was stronger than it quote unquote should have been, because she was referencing anxiety, which famously doesn't really pay attention to what is or is not a big deal, and it just makes everything feel like a way bigger deal than it is. Twitter wasn't the only place that this was happening. Of course, because the original video is a TikTok, a lot of people were weighing in on TikTok as well.
Genuinely think about it this way, if SZA was not a celebrity, you would not be like, oh my god, she was going back and forth with her for an hour. You would be like, oh, she was having a conversation. Like, the way y'all phrased it, you would think SZA was in those DMs talking to herself.
That is pretty much exactly how I would word this. This idea that SZA was like embarrassing herself or doing things beneath her is crazy, because she was literally just talking.
And this creator invalidated her feelings and then posted it to the internet to show like, oh wow, look how this grown woman reacts to a meme. And it's like, no, this is a grown woman reacting to y'all like making fun of her. Like, just take the celebrity and fan portion out of it. If this was just normal people, it would be wrong.
I've fallen into that trap in the past of like being really young and wanting to bring up people's ages as a gotcha. Like, oh yeah, well you're 30, why do you care? But I very quickly was shown that that was wrong for obvious reasons. You don't just lose your right to, I guess, express yourself in a less than ideal way, or even just make mistakes, just because you cross a certain age. And you can't change your age, so getting that held against you is really, really lame. But I feel like a lot of young people really do have like an us versus them mentality when it comes to this. But let me just tell you this. Now that I'm 25 and I am closer to SZA's age than I am to this girl's age, I just want to be really clear. 30 is not old, y'all. 30 is not old. I mean, on the one hand, it's like very old. Like, you basically have one foot in the grave. Like, if you're 30 and you're watching this, I am surprised they even let you out the nursing home. But on the other hand, all jokes aside, now that I'm in my mid-20s, I realize how sort of meaningless the distinction is between 30 and other ages. It's just really not the flex you think it is to tell someone, oh yeah, you're past a certain age. Got you there. Like, you didn't really prove anything.
On TikTok and on Instagram, it's always from like these young teenagers. The moment that the person they're being mean to claps back and says, hey, like, can you like not be mean to me? It's always, aren't you like 15 years older than me? Why are you even responding to me? How weird are you? Like, scary.
Let's do a TikTok challenge where we just stop. That's the challenge. Can we do that one? Anyway, speaking of old decrepit people like me, if you were on the internet, say 5 or so years ago, you may remember the skinny legend meme. I mean, it still gets used actually. I guess just by people on Twitter trying to jokingly say that someone is iconic. But part of the reason this meme was so weird was because it revolved around this one person's pictures, Rainy Rodriguez. She's an actress and a singer, and so people would Photoshop her to be skinnier and say like skinny legend as a joke. And that is objectively, to me anyway, not funny. That has to really mess with you to see yourself in any capacity that you are not being represented this way by people. But someone really tried to say, embrace the attention, Rainy. I guess to try to make fun of her for not being okay with this meme. And Rainy very publicly clapped back and was like, what do you mean? She called it inappropriate, and she really makes the point that just because you think it's funny doesn't really make it okay. And I remember a lot of people were pushing back against her for some reason, but I think a lot of those people were wrong. She is totally entitled to feel how she wants to feel. She is literally the woman in the pictures. The artist FKA Twigs also got one of those "you're such a skinny legend" comments like 4 or 5 years ago. And she responded very gracefully, in my opinion, basically explaining like, while she is very like toned and strong and all of that, being skinny is not what she aims to be, and she doesn't really feel like that's a healthy thing for her to be associated with, and she doesn't feel right when she thinks to herself, I want to be skinny. And she even says, I hope you understand where I'm coming from and why that term feels problematic to me. I am also totally open to your opinion on this. And wouldn't you believe people still came for her and said that she's doing too much? Girl, it's not that serious. Not you writing an essay. Girl, it's just a joke. Learn to take a joke. So all this to say, as a celebrity, I feel like you're never gonna get it right. I think there are a lot of reasons not to have sympathy for celebrities. Like when your entire image is generally just calculated PR designed to elevate your commercial success, and you do literally have enough money to dry your tears with dollar bills, I think usually there's not too much, I guess, to complain about. But when you have people that are talking about their real feelings, their bodies, the way they feel in their skin, the way they're being made to feel, their mental health struggles, their anxieties, these things don't go away. They'll never be invalidated because, frankly, anxiety does not care whether you have hundreds of millions of followers or not, and that is just the long and short of it. Anyway, if I had to sum up my opinion, I don't think that girl did anything wrong initially. I think posting a funny meme is fine, and nothing about it seemed like it was designed to hurt SZA's feelings. Subsequently, I don't think SZA did anything wrong either. Responding to something that wasn't designed to hurt your feelings with, oh hey, this actually did hurt my feelings, just letting you know, that's valid. It didn't come across as nicely as this girl wanted it to, so she turned it into a whole thing, which I thought was just pretty gross. And at the end of the day, I don't support the TikTok at all, and I think choosing to expose her DMs like that and basically just make her believe that she's wrong for having these feelings is really disgusting. But that is my take on it. I say it every video nowadays, I am just a random person on the internet, and since you are too, I would really like to know what you think about this. Like, if ever there was a time to leave a comment, I think now's the one, because I'm probably going to be reading a lot more of them than usual. Because overall, this situation fascinates me. At the end of the day, it seems like feelings were hurt on both sides, but I can deal with hurt feelings, and sometimes that's the happiest ending you can get, that no one was actually hurt beyond that. So you know what? I'll take it. Anyway, as always, thank you for the support. Thank you for watching if you happen to make it this far, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye.